What?
Kurt, that's your cue.
Oh, okay.
God damn it.
I'm Kurt from the MFGCast, and I'm stuck with these assholes. The Legends of Tabletop.
That's right, you fucks. Apparently it's going to be a not safe for work podcast.
Yeah.
Like, really not safe for work.
Yeah. I've been really saucy lately on a couple of things I've been on, so yeah, just expect that.
Cheers.
All right. Hey,
Right, so
everybody, this is
why are you
John.
dressed like? First question is why you're fucking dressed like Frosty the Snowman.
Because I'm in the armpit of the world. I'm in Wisconsin, and it's 5 degrees in my 3 seasons porch. And guess what fucking season I shouldn't be in it?
Well, the armpit
This
of the
season.
world is actually of the state of United States is actually New Jersey.
It would be New Jersey.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. No, I think I'm just talking more about like the cold. For
Oh,
the
gotcha.
most part.
Well, at
Us
least
in-
we know
us in
you're not sitting in
Minnesota.
the kitchen.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be bad.
No, that would be very bad.
I'm a little fuzzy on the whole good bad thing. What are you talking about?
Well, if he had a knit hat and coat and gloves in his kitchen,
Well, I was saying I should probably
Yeah,
join
that would be bad.
this rabbit fur. Yes, real rabbit fur. Sorry, people. Bob. So, feel nice.
Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. If you actually went inside my house, it wouldn't be that much warmer. So
Gotcha.
probably wouldn't be worried. This kind of stuff, because I have a house from the 1930s, and of course that can't be good for anything. So
That was before insulation.
that's right. That's right.
There's some
There's
mold
not
in
very
between
much
the
of it.
walls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mold and rats. That's all I've got over here.
Well, you don't need much else.
Nope. They keep me company.
That's a good thing.
I guess we're off to a roaring start, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Want me to start off with the questions?
You can start off with questions. That'd be a little bit of a switch.
I'll give you a little bit of a break there, yeah. All right, question number 1, Mr. Kurt. When did you first come up with the idea for the MFG cast?
Well, it's funny that you mention it because we're actually on coming up on our 4-year anniversary. So 3 3/4 years ago, me and one of my old podcast partners, Rick, a good friend of mine, we had just kind of been talking back and forth about maybe doing a game podcast, and it was just one of those things where like we were both heavy into listening to podcasts because he has a stay-at-home job, and I had a job that half the day I was listening to podcasts because I'd be in the back where no one could see me, so I could do whatever I wanted.
Nice.
So we've kind of been listening to our own stuff, and we had just kind of tinkered here and there with more of your hardcore board gaming, if you want to call it, not your monopolies and battleships and shit like that. So we decided to try to figure out how to do a podcast, knowing nothing about it. Just thinking that all you need is a microphone and some people. Well, no, you need a little more than that. Yeah, exactly. You need a little more than that. I remember
Not
back
too
in
much more.
Yeah, it's truly not that. It's funny because like there's a lot of things you could do, but really
you clearly don't need heat. So
yeah, exactly. As long as I have a computer and some electricity that works, then you're raring to go. And I remember back in the day when I would check the stats, and I was excited when 3 people would listen. I'd be like, oh yes, I got 3 people to listen to this damn thing. So, and I'm sure one was me, one was Rick, and then one was another person that we knew. I keep forgetting to bring Mike into the fold of this. We kind of
God damn it.
Yeah, poor Mike.
Well, we're not sure that Mike actually exists.
I know. Well, the thing is,
it's some made up friend you have.
yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is with Mike's such a great person, but he's a little shy when it comes to stuff. So anything like this, where to be live, he's just like, he's like, I don't want to see, I don't want anybody to, have to see me and stuff like that. Which I'm like, you're totally fine. Every time he's on, he's always got something great to say. He's not a bad-looking person. He's a good-looking gentleman. And but so a lot of times when it comes to stuff like this, I tell him about it, but sometimes I'm just like, well, I'll just kind of do this, and sometimes I'll throw stuff out and be like, okay, would you like to be a part of this or whatever? But he doesn't listen to podcasts at all, which is kind of funny. He doesn't know. He still doesn't. He still knows jack squat about it.
Wow. That's a good partner.
Yeah. I know, isn't it funny? Because he's like, well, he comes in, he's very prophetic and what he has to say and stuff like that. But other than that, he could care less. He's just like, oh, I'm just glad that we could play games and we could talk about them.
So basically, he's fucking Queequeg.
Yeah, totally. It's totally what it is.
He's the rock star. He just shows up, does his thing, and then bolts out.
Yeah, exactly.
Lays down some wisdom, and then
Yep. Yeah, exactly. He's the brains, and I'm the bitch of the show. So
clearly.
Well, how did you meet Mike? Or do you guys go back a ways, or how did you
actually, me and Mike and Rick all went to the same high school.
Oh, cool.
And then Mike, I didn't hang out with as much in high school. I knew somewhat about him, but we didn't hang out as much. And then kind of after high school and college, we kind of got to know each other better through gaming. So it was kind of cool to become more friends with him because of that. And I think because of the podcast, it's actually gotten us closer as friends and stuff like that too. So I was in his wedding and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's been a great ride.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what you said. Wait, what?
Now, you said you had a podcast before this one?
No.
Okay.
No, Rick was part of the podcast, and then he had a lot of family obligations, so unfortunately he had to bow out of it, and then me and Mike basically took the reins from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's been MFGCast from the beginning. I actually came up with the stupid name, and I'm glad it's stuck. And it's funny too because I know I said this before, but I think it's funny that some people, when I approach them with this, they're like, they get it and they're like, what is that? What does MFGCast mean? And I'm like, it means motherfucking Gamescast, And then there's some people that think we're an established like manufacturing games podcast. I'm like, no, that's definitely on the other end. We're definitely not that podcast. So.
Yeah. Well, so you're coming up on your 4-year anniversary. What was the impetus to go, hey, let's make our own podcast? Like, what was the thought process to
boredom? No, no, it was more just like we had talked about that. We just, me and Rick had kind of liked podcasting and stuff like that, and we had really been excited about really getting into board gaming and stuff like that. So we're like, this will be fun to just kind of get on and talk about something we love and see where it goes from there. I didn't think that from the start that it would get to where it would be today. 'Cause it's I just thought, well, we'll get a couple people that'll listen to it. We'll hopefully be able to bug somebody to come on and talk with us and stuff like that, and basically we just ramble on and just make it a thing. And it's been cool. All the people that we've been able to talk to, and all the people we've been able to become podcast friends with you guys and others from the Legends of Tabletop Network and stuff like that, and different other things. And it's cool to have this community where it's like, okay, well, if I need any help, I can go to Twitter, or I can, send somebody an email and say, hey, I really need this help. Can you help me out? And there's a lot of people now where they've been able to say, hey, I'd love to, and that's great. Where before you just be like, how the hell do you do this thing? And it was very just, we just jumped into it. It was like we had no clue about Audacity, we had no clue about editing, we had no clue about, even topics. We were just like, well, we'll just pick a topic and we'll, just kind of bullshit and see where it goes from there. And it's, turned into something great, I think. So.
Well, yeah, no, it's very good. We got it kind of started the same way. We're like, we'll do it and we'll see what happens. And, no editing. no questions for guests. Like, oh, we'll just get people on and we'll just talk and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like it when I like to do interviews and stuff like that. I usually like don't like to prepare, which is kind of silly to silly to say that, and it's kind of peeling back the curtain. But I just like having a regular conversation with somebody. So I like to take it in the moment instead of just being like, well, here's a set of things I have, and this is where I like to kind of see where they're going and then kind of go off of that and stuff like that. So I like to do it that way because a lot of times, and I've learned this over the years, that the more I prepare, the more I fuck up. So it's just like okay, that did not go the way I wanted to do it. So it's like let's just kind of sit back and see how it goes. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you when you got the podcast started, did you go in with a definite plan or no? Doesn't sound like it.
No, it was more of just we're gonna get together once a month and talk about a subject, and we had a plan for our regular episodes. We wanted to talk about what we were playing right now. We wanted to talk about through the years about we take a subject like RPGs and just be like, okay, where did we start? How did we develop it, and where are we now? And then I came up with this stupid thing about doing weird games too, so just pulling 3 weird games out of nowhere and just kind of bullshitting about it, to get people's attention more than just us blabbing, and then possibly do a review on a game that we played, So that was kind of like the I don't know, the outline of the podcast to begin with. But then as it kind of got to a little further and stuff like that. A lot of people were talking about they actually really liked the interviews, so I was like, well, try to see if we can get some people on and see if we can talk, and that's been good, and then we've been able to do these D&D improvs and stuff like that have been fun, and just coming up with random bullshit, like that random bullshit episode where we met, and it kind of went from there. So.
Yep, that was the start of it all. This is all your fault.
I'll take full credit.
You can only blame yourself.
So do I.
I was gonna say I do every time.
Well, yeah, we like I said in the beginning, we didn't prep, and now I try to come up with questions and things. If for no other reason, to kind of just sort of keep us focused. I mean, you don't have to go through everything. Like say you kind of riff off of what's going on, but just kind of give you a little bit of a structure. Because you can, a lot of times when we get off air, we'll talk to people and we'll talk, almost longer off air than on air. You just have a great conversation. It's like, man, we should have just stayed on air. Yeah.
And I think that's mainly one of the reasons why I like to just kind of BS when I do our interviews, because it's just a lot of times you'll get that, where someone will be like, oh, I just, I have this thing I want to tell you, and they'll kind of talk about it, and you're like, oh wow, I'm glad they did. Otherwise, who knows what it went. So.
Yeah. No, I guess we could switch it into gaming, since that's what we're all about here. Legends of Tabletop.
That's debatable.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, before we were live, John did have his shirt off, and God only knew.
I know. I'm all bundled up, and that asshole's got his shirt off.
Actually, it would have been funny if you did leave it like that, without your shirt off, and then we just pretend like we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, we wouldn't have pointed out he had no shirt. We wouldn't have pointed out that I'm covered to the gills. It would have been hilarious.
That would have forced people to actually ask questions.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
At the very least. So, all right. But having said that, gaming. When did you first get into gaming? Tell us the sordid tale.
Yeah. Well, thanks to my parents, my family, my mom's family in particular, they've always been into card games like Hearts and Clubs and Euchre and that kind of thing, So, plus my mom's side of the family is really competitive and stuff like that when it comes to gaming. So it's like, we'll play Hearts, and every time somebody gets stuck with points, it'll be you'll get it's like a penny for each point you have or whatever, and then if you're caught with queen, that's that's a quarter that you owe and stuff like that. And
Gotcha.
My mom in particular was really big into kind of getting us to play board games and stuff like that. Like her big game is Sorry, the aforementioned Sorry that I talked about, and so we would kind of play those regular board games and stuff like that. And I didn't really get into anything other than that until about high school, when some of my buddies would play D&D and stuff like that. And I didn't really know how to do it. I was kind of excited to do it just because, I'm a big fan of movies and stories and stuff like that and books. So, I was really into the story part, wanting to play different characters and stuff like that. And that kind of grew. My buddy Shane, who we call Richard Shane on the podcast, who hasn't been on that much lately, but I'm hoping to have him on more after he graduates college here. He's a really good storyteller. He's one of the best storytellers that I know, and he really sucks me in with his story. So right away I got sucked into that. We'd play that and some Shadowrun and stuff like that. So that really got me into it. And then with the hardcore gaming, like I said, we really didn't get into the hardcore gaming until about it's fuzzy. It's probably about maybe a year and a half, 2 years before we even started the podcast. So we came into that stuff a little later in life. So not only has it been fun to get started trying to figure out how the podcast would work, but also what our likes and dislikes were for board gaming and stuff like that, and we got into more RPGs. We're kind of getting into that more. Get into that aspect more too. I actually hadn't played that much Call of Cthulhu until you guys invited me to your game that I first played it, and I'm like, wow, that I've always heard about it, but I've never actually played it. So it was fun to do that, and it's cool to I mean, it could be something where I could find people online or people around where I live to do certain things, but I even though as far as this podcast goes, I'm kind of an outrovert when it comes to trying to get things done. I'm still somewhat of an introvert, so it's kind of hard for me to kind of find that thing. So the podcast has been a good tool to get me out there and get me to play more games and want me to do more things where even a couple of years ago you couldn't drag me to do that kind of stuff. It'd just be like, I don't like talking to people. What am I gonna say?
Yeah.
I can't even talk on the phone without screwing it up. So yeah.
I think there's a pretty good portion of us as gamers that are tend towards the more introverted side. Because I would be the same way, and I'm still hesitant to go up to the game store and just sit down at a table and be like, hey, let's play some games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because
without a shirt next time.
Where did everybody go? I guess I'm gonna take these games and just walk away, I guess. Yeah, no, I totally know how you feel because we've been trying to get stuff kind of going at our local game store, and we loved having our Extra Life event there so much that we've tried to get things going there. Well, unfortunately, more people are just playing Magic and Force of Will, which is another card game like Magic and stuff like that. And there's just not enough people that want to get over there and get that group going. And I've been trying to get a group of people to just be like, okay, we need to get a group of people over there and play and maybe get something going, And unfortunately, with being older and having lives and having responsibilities, it's a lot tougher to do that. So it's been a rough go. That's one of the things I've been trying to do this year is trying to get out more and trying to do that thing. And right now, it's been a little tough. So.
Well, it's a really big time investment, like you say, being a little bit older, having responsibilities, kids, and marriages and whatnot. It's a big investment to be like, hey, I'm gonna go to the game store for 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially when you're doing this kind of stuff, because I love my wife to death and she's so supportive, but I can tell every once in a while she's just like, so what are you doing tonight? I'm like, I'm going to be doing this, How long is it going to take? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know,
Go
And,
on the porch.
yeah, exactly. And she, I'm not taking anything away from her. She's been nothing but supportive through this whole thing, and it's been great. But it also, makes you feel bad because it's like, you wanna develop this brand that you have, and you want to get your feelers out there and help different people. Like now that I've gotten more into this podcast, all I want to do is help people. Like I don't, to tell you the truth, I don't even care that much that anybody's helping us out. I mean, not that I don't appreciate it. I'm just saying, like, I just want to help other people out. I think that's, more fun to do is just to be like, oh, you need something? I can help you with that, or you need to talk about something on air? Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, as a general rule, I think our community is very good that way. It's not it's either you or me.
Yeah.
It's more about, supporting people and, kind of helping out where you can. And, that's how the network came about. And it sort of stemmed from that initial bullshit podcast, kind of got me going down that road, with having all those people on one, random thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's always the best. That's always the best when you have people that on one end of the spectrum talking to other people on the other end of the spectrum, and you're like, oh, my favorite people are getting together and doing fun stuff. That's awesome, So.
I do have to say, and I'll say it on air because I've said it to you guys before in messages, but we've assembled a really good group of people, and I'm proud and happy to have all the folks that we have on the network now. Sort of under our umbrella here, because everybody's just really cool and really supportive, super helpful, and it's been a pretty good experience.
Mm-hmm.
You sentimental fuck.
Yeah, well, it's on record now.
Can't take it back. Oh, you could edit it.
Yeah, that's true.
I could edit it out, but I mean it, so I'm going to leave it in there. It warms my cold black heart.
Warms the cockles of your heart.
Yeah. And I saw it. He had his shirt off, so.
Whoa. You guys want me to leave you two alone? Yeah.
Well, we'll do that after we get off here.
As long as breakfast is bought, it's all good.
All right. So you said you did a lot of board gaming prior to the RPG stuff. Now,
yeah.
Do you have some favorite board games aside from Sorry that you like to play?
Oh, I like a ton of games. I think it's well known if people don't know it already. There's not a lot of stuff I don't like. I'm not like. I hate to throw people under the bus, but I'm not like Tom Vassell from Dice Tower. If he doesn't like something, he's really good at telling you how he feels about it. Unfortunately, I'm not that person, unless, there's only one game out there that I've truly, like, we have our top 8 every year, and we always pick one that we didn't like, and stuff like that. And even then, it's hard for me to go, oh, I really fucking hate this game, I really, it's really hard for me to do that. One of the staple games that's always been fun for me is Clue. People always say, oh, it's so easy to figure out. I'm like, I don't care. I still think it's fun. I have this weird brain about, I love mystery. I've always loved mystery. I read mystery. I've tried to write mystery. I love movies like that kind of challenge your brain. And that's kind of why I like role playing so much too, because a lot of it is very it's very, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. It's almost mathematical. We were trying to find A plus B equals C or whatever. So I always like to try to figure that stuff out. Anything to challenge my brain is always exciting for me. So I like that kind of stuff. That being said, I also like a lot of stuff that's very easy to figure out. Like right now, I'm really big into deck building games. So anything deck building, like the DC deck building game I've already talked about, I really like. Dominion, I really like. Stuff like that. Trying to think of what else I really enjoy.
Well, if you're into the card stuff, did you ever do like Magic or Pokemon or anything like that?
Yeah, well, we were pretty hardcore into Magic as we started the podcast. It was like one of those things we kept doing and kept doing and kept doing. We'd have every time a new set come out, we'd have a draft and play our decks and stuff like that. And I've actually got a crap ton of cards because my brother-in-law is huge into Magic and he just nonstop plays it. And so, every holiday or birthday, they're like, oh, here's a little bit of this. Oh, here's a little bit of that. Oh, cool. I can, make that up and stuff like that. But we actually haven't played it in quite a while. And unfortunately, it comes with that whole, trying to afford it kind of thing. So, I think with Magic, you have to really be into it like almost all of the time to really, stick with it. I think Mike's the exception because he's really good at. He's just a really smart guy, and he's really good at picking up things even if he hasn't played them after a while and stuff like that. So he could do that with me. It's funny because we've talked about it. We're like, well, let's go try to play some Magic again, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure I would suck complete ass, but we could try it, So yeah, it's hard for me to pick like like too many favorites too because again, like I just love so much stuff, and because we're still in the infancy of the games that we've played, there's still a lot of stuff out there. So then we'll talk about like, oh hey, we just played, last year we just played Ticket to Ride for the first time. People were like, oh my god, that game's been out forever, and it's like, well, we didn't know about it, and just now we're excited about it, so it's kind of cool to have that excitement about that stuff. So,
do you prefer a simpler, quicker game, or do you like the bigger box? Let me take out 5,000 pieces, and it takes 2 hours to set it up and 8 hours to play.
That's a great question because I was actually thinking about that the other day. It used to be something where I used to love more of a simple game, but now I'm actually liking these, like the longer Euro games and stuff like that, as long as they're easy to follow. Some of these games they get into, it's like, hey, look at all the shit we got, and it's like, that's awesome, but you know what? If you can't tell me how to play this game, then what the hell am I doing? It's like I don't like getting lost in a game, especially when we talked about the time suck. It's like you put your spare time into something that you want to play, and if it wastes all that time just to either learn it or try to play it, then a lot of times it really is like, okay, I could have been doing something else.
And I can much value in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why sometimes I like, setting aside time for RPGs because, 98% of the time, it's always a lot of fun and there's a lot of interaction and stuff like that, and I feel like I've accomplished something, and my brain's kind of worked itself nicely. So.
Yeah. I prefer the shorter stuff just for time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
If I can play something in 15 minutes or a half hour, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and those are especially good for like the beginning or the end of the night, or like I like a lot of the shorter games with like my son and stuff like that because God forbid I play anything that lasts more than a half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever, because then all of a sudden I can just see him staring at the wall like, okay, what are we doing now?
What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I'm super excited. I want to get him into role playing. Like really, it's hard to kind of do because he's got such a short attention span. But Monty Cook Games has that. What is that? Shut Up Evil, or what is? No, Thank You Evil. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. I'm like, gosh, I really want to do that just so because it's got it's not only got the stuff that you can do as far as your role playing, but it's got a lot of visuals too. Like you could do that at home too. Like I've got a lot of Star Wars figures, and I can just be like, okay, here we go. Here's a lot of guys. We're gonna go on the Millennium Falcon. We're gonna come here. We're gonna start blasting a bunch of people. I could do it that way, but I like having that stuff kind of drawn out too, so I could kind of follow something that's quick and easy that he would be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool.
Definitely. Um, Speaking of RPG games, I'm going to roll two questions into one.
Okay.
'Cause they kind of go hand in hand. Now, your favorite RPG, and within those, do you prefer being a player or a GM?
I think probably just because I'm such a dork, I love anything Star Wars, so I would always pick that. But I haven't really played anything I disliked either. You know, I love D&D, of course. Just anything fantasy is awesome. Playing Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, God, I can never say that. It just pisses me off. Cthulhu.
You said it right. Whenever you say
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Depending on how drunk I am. Yeah, it's funny because I actually have not played enough RPGs. Actually, I've only played a handful. Love Fiasco a lot because it's got a lot of structure to it that makes you kind of do stuff, but I think it also invites a lot of creativity into it too. And it's not one of these. Most of the time, it's more of a bad news kind of game, and I kind of like that because it seems like everything else is always like good wins, good wins, good wins. You know, so it's kind of nice to see evil kind of take a front seat this time. You know.
Right. Fiasco's fun. Not that you don't interact in a regular game, but since it's a GM-less system, it really kind of forces everybody to become involved. Like, you can't just sit and play Candy Crush on your phone while somebody else is, doing combat in D&D or something. Like, you have to be involved, and everybody gets their own scenes, and it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. Answering your other question, I think it's kind of a tie between the two because I really like both. For the longest time, I was a player. Didn't really want to do any DMing because when it comes to my brain, I take it for granted sometimes. And when it comes to doing stuff like that, I'm always like, well, I don't want to do that. It's gonna suck. No one's gonna care, So it's always kind of hard for me to go, okay, I have to write up the story and, hopefully people will like it and stuff like that. But since I've actually GM'd, I really do love it because, it's just like the whole interviewing thing. Like, I'm really good at doing stuff on the fly for the most part. There will be a couple of points where people will be like, they'll kind of throw me a curveball and I'll be like, I don't know, what do you want to do, But I've been more excited about telling a story, and I'm trying to write up my own RPG right now, and it's been tough because I almost think that I have ADHD too. My son has it, and I almost think that I have it too because I'll start writing stuff and I'll be like, oh, geez, what was I gonna do there, And then it'll be like, oh, I got it, and then I'll start writing a little bit more, and I'll be like, I gotta put this away. I can't do it right now, But just writing that up just gets me really excited because I'm just like I want it to be really rules light, but what I want to do before I release it off into the wild or try to have people look at it. I almost want to just role play it, just be like, okay, I'm gonna be the GM. I'm gonna tell this story. We'll use the few things and we'll see how it goes from there. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to get that table time to help to kind of tweak the rule set and kind of see how your ideas are working and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the part that scares me too. I've had I talked to Rohit on Gaber's Plan about putting on his site, and have people just kind of give me suggestions on it and stuff like that. And part of me is like, I don't want to because I don't want people to tell me what to do. I want it how I want it, and I don't give a shit what you think. But I also do care, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you need that outside set of eyes to come in. It could be something as simple as, oh, you didn't, cross that T. And you look at it, and you just don't see it, and you're like, oh, fuck, that's right, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice to have that person, especially with the podcast. I've had outside sources and stuff like that be like, hey, why don't you do this? I'm like, I never thought of that. Thank you. It's awesome.
Cool. Very cool. So still talking about RPGs. If you're going to run a game, how much time do you spend in prep? If you're going to write up an adventure.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to that, I'd like to try to do as much prep as possible. I probably don't write a lot down. I do more thinking about it than anything because I like to kind of have it fresh in my head. That's a good thing I kind of like about my job is half of my day usually at my job I'm behind the scenes, so I can kind of think of things, and then the other half I'm on the floor just kind of doing stuff. So it's kind of nice to have that time that even though I'm doing something and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, but I'm also letting my mind kind of be like, okay, so what do I want to do with this, and letting it more stick into my craw than having more of it just be, I'm just going to write a bunch of this down because then, maybe I won't remember it, and I mean, I know it's on a piece of paper and I could just read it from there, but I kind of like it for flow. I kind of like to have more of it in my head, can just kind of go from there than just be like, oh, wait a minute, I had something here. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Oh, wait, here it is, and it takes people out of the situation. So, I do a decent amount of prep that way. But I don't, you won't see it as much as you will hear it.
Right. All right, fair enough. I go to the full, like, write everything down. I've got a notebook and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, it can be jarring if you're like, oh shit, I got to find that piece of paper. I wrote that one key thing down on that you need to have the NPC tell you. But
yeah. I'm very jealous of my buddy Shane because he goes above and beyond when it comes to that stuff. He's got stuff written down. He's got art to show you. He's got maps. He's got the last big thing we did. Not the last thing, but he had a D&D campaign. He actually had a bunch of stuff that he took 2 weeks straight to make his own little castle for us to go through. And we had our little characters and stuff like that, and I'm like, wow, that is insane. And he's like, yeah, there was probably days where I did not sleep, and I'm like, you are fully committed, and I appreciate that, but I will never be that person.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I do that kind of stuff. I don't. Like being, the introvert, like, you kind of come up with an idea and you're like, oh, I think this would probably be pretty cool. And, you try to find the maps and, get the right mini kind of things. But then there's always some trepidation as to, whether or not people are going to enjoy it or, kind of get what you're going for or whatever. So I do the crafts and I make stuff and do all the. I get dressed up sometimes for a particular character or something like that.
Or dressed down, as the case may be.
or dressed down, whatever it is.
Whatever it takes.
To kind of, maybe make up for that, inexperience or insecurity of, like, I'm going to do it and it's going to be great. I'm like, nope, I'm going to get dressed up in a cloak and I'm going to, whatever, because it'll distract everybody from how bad I really am. I guess it comes with the territory, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's nice. I think it's nice that, you have to kind of know your gaming group too. You can't just go the way you want it to go because, the group is always going to tell you how they want to go, so you can't really force it.
Well, and I had that the group that I've had playing here, they're more like hack and slash. Just put something in front of us, we'll kill it, and we'll move on to the next thing, and we'll kill it.
Yeah.
Well, I had a bunch of maps I wanted to use, and it was more of a, not even like an investigation. Like I put a couple of monster sets, in each part of the map. But at one point, it was just like door after door after door after door, and they were like. So I'm like, all right, quick on the fly. Like, let me pull something out. Like, okay, there's this thing, and you kill it.
Yeah. I'm kind of half and half again. Seems like I'm talking about everything with that, but when it comes to RPGs, I love like a good story, but also good combat, and I like it together. I know that Jesse from. Dragon Fisters, he loves to do a lot. He likes to do more of a narrative story, and and I like that too. But after a while, I'm like, okay, get to the action. You know, like I want to kick some ass. That's what I'm here for. Because guess what? In real life, I'm not doing that kind of stuff. You know, I'm being the Mister I can't do anything. So it's kind of nice to be like, you know, oh, I zap you with this magic missile, or you know, or I'm gonna punch you in the face. You know, because I would never do that in real life. So it's kind of cool to have that action part of it too. Mike is on the combat end. He wants to combat. He wants to just fight something. You know, and he's good with sticking with story and stuff like that. But if you get too far into it, you can tell he's just like, okay, I'm done. You know, so.
Right. See, before I was more into the combat. Now I'm getting more into the actual RP, and like, let's get into the story, and you know, what's my character's motivation, and you know, try to get into, so at least in my head anyway. Whether that translates, I'm not really sure, but you know, I kind of think that's kind of where I'm at this point. But
yeah.
Still talking about games. Are you more maps and minis or theater of the mind?
I actually like maps and minis. I'm more of a me and Mike always talk about like being the collector aspect of certain things. So anytime I can get a little mini in my hand, it's always kind of cool, you know. It's like, oh, this is my guy. That's awesome, you know, where I can see and stuff like that. But I'm getting more into the whole theater of the mind thing too, because it's cool to see where you can take things. You know, we've had these, you know, D&D improvs and stuff like that, and I've tried voices that I've been awful at, but you know, it's kind of cool to just throw that out there just to see if it, you know, if it sinks or not. I actually tried to do a Tracy Morgan impersonation for something that we're doing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is awful. Like,
you get hit by a Walmart truck, or
yeah, no, nope. I avoided that, but I did have a donut.
There. That's pretty funny.
I try. Just touching on what you're talking about with the Dragon Festers, you know, we'll go through, because I'm on that podcast too. You know, we'll play session after session, and sometimes not even roll dice in a whole night, just because it's an RP thing. I mean, we've had Jesse walk away, you know, whatever, had to get one of the babies in the bathroom or whatever, and you look up and there's a BRB, and it's like, we'll RP. I mean, we'll just roll with it until he comes back, and he'll come back and be like, what do you guys do? And, you know, as a listener, you would never know that he wasn't there. And it's pretty cool that we can kind of, you know, just sort of riff on it and you know, kind of keep things going. It's not a lot of dead air.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because I think those moments are actually pretty cool because, you know, I've actually been forced into that kind of setup where, you know, somebody's like, okay, I want you guys to go off in this area, and I want you to role play, but I'm not going to listen to it. I want you to just have your own conversation, and then you come back and tell me kind of how it went. And I'm like, what? You're supposed to be here and tell me what to do, and then we'll talk about it, you know? So it's kind of cool to kind of go off to the side there and be like, oh, let's actually role play this thing, you know? Where it's funny because sitting around a group of people, it always seems right. But then when he had us push off to the side and it's like me and another guy, I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, I am a big dude and I don't like you. You know, it was a lot better than that. But, you know, it's interesting to, you know, push your limits in that area. And I like that, trying to do that when I'm a GM too, trying to do something where I'm like, oh, they're not going to expect this. Here you go, you know. Throw that out there and see where they go from there, you know. So.
Yeah.
You gotta keep them on their toes.
Yeah, exactly.
You gonna take this one, Vince?
No, it's all you. I'm
Awkward
done.
silence. Boy, that's the best part of podcasting.
Well, if people don't read the chat, then you don't know what's going on.
I did not look at the chat. I don't pay attention to you.
I know, obviously.
Unless you have your shirt off, then there you go.
Well, yeah.
All right. Now, how easy or hard is it to fit gaming into your schedule? Because we were talking about wanting gaming time and value from that gaming time? Is it difficult to find that gaming time?
Yeah, it seems like it's been becoming increasingly harder. I have a 5-year-old, a 5.5-year-old. Mike is actually his wife is due with their first child. We're the only two that really game together, besides my wife, or we'll do it depending upon how she feels. So we don't really have a huge gaming group. It's just me, Mike, and my wife. And every once in a while, maybe we'll talk to, because I know that some of my wife's friends that she works with, they like to get together every once in a while, so we'll kind of hang out. I know some other people that are around that. It has to be a certain part of the year. Like my buddy Shane, he goes to school now. He went to school, it didn't really quite work out, so then he worked, and now he's in a program that he really loves, and it's cool that he's doing the thing that he loves, but it's also takes away from that time. So it's like, he's like, oh, I listen to the podcast, and I would love to do this, and I'm like, well, I'd love to too, but you're busy all the time, so we can't, and then we'll have we have a role playing group that we'll do every once in a while, but that's more towards summer, because when it's winter out here in Wisconsin, it's a little harder to do things if people are sick and work and school and stuff like that. So it's becoming increasingly hard, and it sucks too, because I'm the type of person that if I could for a living, I'd game all the time. That's all I do. Pay me to do that, I would do that all the time. I wouldn't get sick of it. I would not. But there are also times where you get kind of sick of things, and you're like, okay, well, I'm exhausted. I just can't do it. So you take that time out to just kind of get yourself well, not only mentally but physically, or physically but mentally. So yeah, it's become increasingly hard, and especially with this podcast, it's kind of funny that you think it would be easier, but it's not, because then now we're trying to keep the brand going and not alienate our fans, and just kind of keep them interested. So it's like, okay, we got to do this thing, but yeah, exactly. And I've talked about this with Dan from the GNU podcast. You can't just go into your podcast, your brand, something that you love, and go, here's a half-assed thing, hope you like it.
Yeah.
So we've both kind of come to the choice that we want to do it, but we want to do it right.
Yeah.
When we first came out, we wanted to do one regular podcast once a month, and we were good. But then we've have all this other stuff that we'd like to do now too, and so it's hard to fit that other stuff in the schedule. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
We did the same thing in the beginning. We're like, if we do one podcast a month, that'll be good, and we'll do some other things, and we'll fill in. And then it's like, we're gonna do an AP every week, and then we're gonna release an interview every week, and then sometimes 2 interviews in a week, and
Yeah.
it gets pretty crazy. Well, and the podcast itself takes up so much time. Not only is it just, you get on and you do a hangout for an hour. It's doing the scheduling, finding the guests, it's editing the podcast, it's going through and make sure everything's posted.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit that goes into it.
Yeah. If you tape an hour podcast, you're not just putting that out. You want to take out the stupid shit. You want to take out the You want to take out the farts. You want to take out everything that's distracting from.
Farts get left in. We leave.
I know. Well, coming from you, I'm not surprised, but it's one of those things where when you're editing an hour podcast, it takes you about 2 hours to do. It's about twice the time, because you really want to get that stuff going, and even then, you're not necessarily going to get it. We just released an interview with Alex from Battle Bards, and I didn't realize that for some reason I thought I had everything perfect. Well, the last 10 minutes, I I had the timing was off between my voice and his because I didn't for some reason didn't get that quite perfectly. So then you need to add commercials, and then you need to add things you want to talk about at the end, and you want to add a bumper for for the network. So you just you're constantly trying to figure out, okay, what can I do not to fuck up to make anybody mad about it. Well, I got a message from somebody that from a podcast friend that's like, your last 10 minutes is really hard to listen to, and I'm like, oh shit, and I released it that day, and I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, thank God not that many people listened to it the first day, but still it doesn't I work on 100% fear, so anytime anything goes wrong, I'm like, oh shit, it's over, the podcast is done.
Yeah.
That sounds stressful.
That's right.
Oh, you gotta take all that stuff with a grain of salt.
I tried to.
All right. Let's see. I have a couple more here. Something that you want to play and haven't had the chance to play yet. Board game, RPG-wise, whatever.
Oh, jeez. Mutants and Masterminds, I still have not played that yet, and I really want to. I'm a big dork when it comes to superhero stuff. When I went to Gen Con this last year, I thought I had bought the original Mutants and Masterminds book, but I had actually purchased one of the villains books.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's not going to do me any damn good. I just spent $40 on this shit. Oh.
That sucks.
So, yeah, I know, right? I'm like, I'm an idiot. What else would I like to play? I still, even though it seems like it would take forever to do, I want to play Twilight Struggle. I've heard so many good things about it. I know it's one of those games that takes like a day to play, and that would be hard for me because it's hard for me to play any game that's at least more than 3 hours. But that I've always kind of wanted to dig into just to see. But for me, any game, it's really hard to pick any just because I'm like, I just want to play them all. I don't care if they suck. Like I said, one of my favorite games is the DC deck building game. I heard when that first came out, people hated it. They were like, this game is stupid. It doesn't have good mechanics, and blah blah blah. And I bought it, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I love it.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to play is, gosh, I can't think of it. It's that RPG that Will Wheaton actually made up. That, that he actually did his own YouTube videos of or whatever. Gosh, I can't think of the name of it right now. But I was just like, this is so different from other stuff that I was like, oh, this would be kind of cool to role play. But for RPGs, I'd like to learn a lot more about RPGs because I feel like I'm just like at the beginning of learning all of what's out there. Because I know there's a ton of shit out there. I've had we've talked on the message boards and stuff like that. I know Jesse's pointed out some things, and I'm like, what is this stuff? I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This would be kind of cool to see. So.
Yeah, well, that was me. When 4th edition came out and we started playing again. I mean, for all I had known up to that point, it was like, well, you had White Wolf and you had D&D, and like, that's RPGs. And when the Nerd Band podcast started, and I joined on their boards, I mean, it was like, fuck, what are all these different games? This is crazy. Like, I've never heard of any of these things before.
Yeah.
So,
just going through a drive-through RPG is just like, holy crap, there's so much stuff out there. You get lost forever,
And you're adding to the pile there with your own game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Do you have a favorite in-game moment?
Oh, geez. I think I've actually talked about this before, but one of my favorites ever is when I was GMing for a Star Wars RPG. I think it was the Wizards D20 system that they had. That was from like early 2000s, I want to say. And it was Shane and Rick and Mike, and it was one of those where it was just they made the story epic. And a lot of times when it comes to storytelling, I like to be like a little bit better than a M. Night Shyamalan, like have a twist, but actually people be excited about it, kind of thing.
Right.
And it was one of those where it was, I think it was like one of the bad guys was one of the good guys' dads, one of the players' dads, and I never referenced it at all. It really came down to the end, put little pieces of things together. Just got the looks on their faces like, holy shit, I can't believe that's that, you know. And you know, when you come up with a story, you're like, okay, I hope it doesn't suck, you know. So when it actually turns out, it's awesome. And we had one last fight, and they had beaten the big Sith Lord or whatever that was the dad of one of the guys or whatever, and they were trying to beat this big mech. And I forget what it was called. I have it in the house somewhere. But it was going to be a colossal blow because Rick had gotten on top of it, taken care of most of it, and then Shane had come through with his lightsaber, got on the top, boom, gonna smash it, and everything's good. Well, Rick's character jumps down, I think that's what it was. Rick's character jumps down, gets out of the way. Shane, I'm going to have you roll and get out of the way because the thing's going to explode. You got to get out of here. Rolls a 1. I'm like, yes! I'm like, this is going to be so great, you know? So it was just like one of those things where it's like, you know, you got Robe caught in, you know, in part of the machinery or whatever, and then he blew up at the end, and, you know, he was the big victor and yet got the big, you know, KO, so... It was just awesome just to see that, and the part that was the best thing about it is once we were done, you know, we had been drinking most of the day, so everyone's all chatty and stuff like that, and we go outside and about 3 hours of like, holy shit, that was awesome, you know, and I can't believe that, you know, this happened, and oh, when that happened, that was awesome, and it's cool when it just sparks up another, you know, level of conversation that gets you stoked about the next thing or what just happened, so.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that the end of the campaign? Was that like the finale of the whole thing?
Yeah, that was literally right at the end because they were supposed to beat the Sith Lord. They did. I thought it was going to be the other way around, where they beat the mech and then they beat the Sith Lord. Well, they rolled really great, beat the Sith Lord, and then just died at the end. You know, and the one guy died at the end. And yeah, it's just. And I've had another campaign where that happened too, where it was like one of the guys was supposed to help out, and he's like, "Nope, I'm leaving," and two of my characters died because of it.
Wow.
You know, yeah.
That's what my character would do.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've been privy to a couple of really good moments, even though I haven't had, you know, a ton of them. So.
That's interesting. Was running a Star Wars game, the Stand on Star Wars, and one of our players had left. He was playing a Jedi. And as we got a little bit further in, I was gonna. There was a module that was released. I forget the friggin' name of it, but I was gonna take bits and elements of it. But I was gonna use the character as an NPC and have him then working for the Empire as a dark, you know, as a Sith. And we never got to that point in the campaign. It, you know, broke up before that. And I always kind of regret it because it would have been so cool because. You know, like the guy's not playing anymore, you just sort of write him off and his character off. I think it would have been a pretty cool in-game moment to be like, oh, fuck, it's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had those moments too where, especially when you're writing up a story and you're like, okay, this is going to be awesome, and then they go totally in the wrong direction, and you're like, oh, shit, this is never going to happen. Okay, scrap that. Have to come up with something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the things you can do, like, you know, with a module. You know, if you play D&D or whatever, like they send you the thing, and okay, the monsters are in room 1, and the treasure's in room 4, and the pit trap is in, you know, well, if they go the wrong way, you know, quote unquote the wrong way, you just, you know, you move things around. Like, you know, if you're sandboxing and, you know, you're kind of using that as a model, but you want things to happen in a certain way, you just flip everything around. Nobody's the wiser. You know, if they need to find a key bit of information first, or you know, they have to get the lone goblin who's got the letter from the evil overlord or whatever, and they're like, nope, we're gonna go right instead. Like, well, fuck, the guy's walking down the right hallway then, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
No
That's
harm, no
that's
foul.
part of my that's part of my favorite parts too. Of like, when you talk when you're done with it, or you take a time, you take like a break or whatever, and you're like, well, I was gonna do this, but now we're doing this, and you're like, oh shit, we were gonna do that. That's awesome, So I always
Yeah.
like the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, and it's cool too, because then even if you plan things out, the players, can help. Obviously, in a good, it's a cooperative game. The players are going to help to write the story, but they can bring new and interesting things to the table that you hadn't considered when you were putting something together. You'd be like, you know what, I like that better. So, the bad guy wasn't the guy's father before, but they think he is, and that sounds like a pretty cool, good idea. So fuck, that's what he is now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Scribble
that's
some
always good.
notes, change some things around, and let them roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you tell them, hey, I wasn't going to do this, but you guys, came up with this thing, and that's the way we went. It gives
Yep.
them good feels for it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have one more prepared here, aside from our final five. What's the ungeekiest thing about you?
What's the well, probably sports. I love sports a ton. Um, Baseball is my big passion. I used to play baseball when I was younger, so I really like it. It's funny because now that I have this geeky thing that I like to do and stuff like that, when when the Super Bowl was just coming around, it's funny all the people that talk about how much they hate it and like, oh, I'm gonna do something else instead of the Super Bowl, and I'm like, you don't have to be like that, because
Yeah.
it almost sounds like what happens when you're the geek, and then someone's always like, oh, you should like football, or whatever, that kind of thing, So it's like, you don't have to dislike it. I mean, I understand if you don't like it, but you don't have to be like, I don't like it,
It's
So
funny.
I'm a
I was going to ask you just about that exact thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally how it's. I'm a person of two minds when it comes to that too. Like I love it, but I'm not gonna force it down your throat. I'm not gonna be like, you don't like football? What the hell? But I have a passion for it, and so I work at a sporting goods store. That's my job. So it's kind of cool to see all the stuff and be able to be a part of that. But also we sell a bunch of dorky stuff too, like like we have Star Wars figures and Legos and stuff like that. So I'm also like, yes, this is the best thing ever, So
Melding of your two passions.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm assuming that you're a Packers fan then.
Yeah. Born and bred. Yeah, you just have to be.
You were super excited that Brett got in first nomination.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. Does he live out that way? Do you know? Does he reside in Wisconsin?
I don't think he does. I think he's in Mississippi now, where he's from.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm an Eagles fan. Well, I'm an Eagles fan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Especially after. I'm just saying about this last year you had, because it was awful.
Well, Chip Kelly's a dickhead.
Yeah. I think he played too much Tecmo Bowl, and he thinks that he can do anything. So
he was terrible. I went through when they signed Michael Vick and tried to convince me that they needed another quarterback who was a piece of shit of a human being. Mm-hmm. I stopped watching football altogether. I didn't watch football the entire time he was on the team.
Yeah.
I just completely boycotted.
Yeah. You can't cheer for a team that doesn't have any. I'm trying to think of the word that they'll just sell themselves to win.
Well, it wasn't even that. He was a terrible quarterback when he was in the league. He was a terrible quarterback when he came back, and he's a terrible human being.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams that make those decisions. That's kind of part of why I like the Packers, because they always seem to, for the most part, get quality players. And there's always going to be that, one here or there that takes steroids or drugs or whatever, unfortunately. But I like when, teams try to stick with, the integrity of people and not just do what they think is going to be good for, I don't know, the fans or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, up until that point, they had been. I don't want to say strong morally because I know they don't really care about that, but they seem to have some pretty decent guys. They never really had issues with guys getting arrested. It wasn't the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and that stuff always drives me crazy. I'm just, it's just,
And they went from that to, Michael Vick, he's great, and we need him. When they had like 3 decent quarterbacks at the time, it was like, we don't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I guess that's neither here nor there.
It's a good side. It's a good sidetrack. You just lost all of your audience, but it was fun talking about
it. Yeah. Well, I never talk about it anymore because, like I said, I watched one season. They let Vic go. They gave the kid the chance, Foles, to play. Played one season, and they're like, nah, we're gonna get the guy who's broken and who's terrible. Barely walk. That's the quarterback that we need. Like.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. It's so funny when you see it, like, not trying to be the armchair quarterback, but you're just like, seriously? Do you not see that? That's the dumbest idea?
Yeah. And not that Foles was going to be Montana, but, Jesus, the kid never had the chance to actually play a full season. One full season.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's frustrating. And now we've got Andy Reid light, so I hold no hope for the future.
I don't know. Doug Peterson was a coach at Green Bay, and I liked him he was a quarterback at Green Bay, and I liked some of his thoughts. So I don't know. I think he might be a little bit better than Andy Reid.
We'll see. If they don't run the ball at least half the time in the first game, I'm out.
Yeah, that was sorely lacking for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with the Flyers. They're somewhat disappointing as well, but they've got some good young players, and I'm hoping in the next year or two they're going to make a really strong run. But
yeah. You always got to stick with your team. Unfortunately, I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan, and they're going to be awful this year, so I'll just sit back and see what happens.
The Phillies are fucking terrible, so I'm in the same boat. I haven't watched or really followed the Phillies since I moved out here, but it's just been a nightmare. I mean, they tied up in so many big contracts, old players. And
oh, yeah. Yep.
Bad, really bad. All right, we should probably get out of sports talk because absolutely nobody's going to be interested in it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've already lost. Yeah, you're done.
I've lost the other host.
I know. I was going to say, I'm surprised Vincent was awake that whole time.
I'm not even paying attention to you guys anymore.
Yeah. He's looking at porn on the other page or something.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm actually debating with someone on Facebook. So.
Nice.
That's always a worthwhile endeavor.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of. Is this person? I don't know. You have to take a look at the post later.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look at it later.
Something you posted, and I posted about leeches.
Oh, you're talking about Kyle.
Societal leeches. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to delete that whole thread because I don't want that happening on my Facebook page.
I know, right? Well, I'm going to hit him with some stats, actually, some cold hard facts. So.
Okay. Well, if you're going to go factual data, then I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Well, I did do some factual data, but I love debate, so this is kind of cool. It heats the blood in the winter. So, you could have a debate. That's what we're all about, free speech and debate, and still like another person, not to hate them, and not get pissed off. It's fun.
That's right.
Although there's some people you can hate. That's all right.
Some people just want to slap the shit out of you.
That's true.
What was that too? And you know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy. All right.
So
well, here
I'll put the Facebook thing aside for now. So we're on 5, right?
Yeah,
Thanks, Vince. Thanks for paying attention. I appreciate it.
Well, no, I zoned out when you're fucking talking about football.
You and
Talk about
Effie.
things to do with your time. Shit. God damn.
All right. So let's begin to wrap this thing up here. We'll head into our final five. I don't think we had this when we had you on any of the other like 3 or 4 times you've been on the podcast.
You're like
yeah,
a
actually, you did last time, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did. That's okay, though.
Oh shit. All right, we'll have to do it again and see if your answers change.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no kidding.
We're gonna ask the same question and plot your
Sweet.
answer over the course
Sweet.
of
We'll
the-
see. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, for everybody, if you want, listen to the first podcast, you can compare and contrast the answers here. I don't have anything else prepared. I was trying to maybe think of something more germane to you to make you choose, but I got nothing.
That's okay.
All right, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars all the way.
All right, let's switch it up. Star Wars or Firefly?
Still Star Wars. I actually still have not seen all of Firefly, which I'm sure is going to get a lot of my street cred taken away from me. I don't like Doctor Who. That's another thing that'll piss everybody off. What else does everybody like that I don't care for? Gosh, there's something else
This
too.
podcast football.
yeah, no kidding. I like football that no one else likes. But yeah, no, I do love Firefly. We played the board game and I love that a ton. And I love the I don't know, just I can see why everyone's so addicted to Firefly because it's so unique. There's just nothing else that's like that out there.
Mhm.
So it's cool to watch. I still need to get to watch the whole thing. I'm sure if my buddy Shane is watching this right now, he's like, what? Because he borrowed them to me, and I told him I watched them all, but I didn't. So
Nice. Well, we won't tell them.
cool.
We'll change this one up a little bit too. Tabletop or board games?
Probably more board games, just because I think it's easier to bring out a board game and get stuff going than getting an RPG out there. Because I think that's more of a preparation and it takes more of a day to really focus on. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. DC or Marvel?
I've been more or less a Marvel zombie, but I'm getting more into DC stuff. I'm trying to at least, just because I haven't gotten into it enough that it'd be cool to get into it more. I've always been a big fan of Batman and Robin. I think that's why my son loves Robin so much. So, but I do love Marvel a lot. Love Logan, Wolverine. That's why I named my kid Logan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Sci-fi or fantasy?
I don't know. I do like a lot of sci-fi stuff, but I think I'm probably more into fantasy. I like more of the theatrics of it. I think with sci-fi, I think it's more data, and it can have a lot of theatrics to it. But I think that fantasy has more of that. So.
All right. And if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, geez, that's a good one. I probably said that last time you said that. Gosh, what would I like? I don't know. It's one of those where every time you think about that, because I know that question's been thrown out between nerds, geeks, and dweebs for forever. But the first thing I thought of is like, I want to read people's minds, and I'm like, no, I don't, because I'd be pissed at everything everybody was thinking of. So I don't think I'd ever want to pick that. Probably flying.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
especially in an election year.
Yeah. Or especially what my wife is thinking. Like, you're an idiot. I know. Thank you. You don't have to keep thinking that. But I think flying, just because I've rarely flown. I think I've only been on an airplane once and just loved it. I've actually had vivid dreams about flying. It's kind of weird to say that, but it's just something and then I watched something at in a IMAX where it was like they had I don't know if they had a GoPro or some kind of something attached to an eagle that was flying through the Grand Canyon. I'm like, holy shit, that would be awesome.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So
Would
I
you
think
have
I'd
like
probably.
super cool goggles so you don't get bugs all in your
Oh
eyes?
well, yeah, I'd have to have like what is Superman now has like this weird like thing around him where nothing can hit him, when he's going super fast and stuff like that. It just kind of bounces off. Yeah, you'd have to have something like that, or some kind of suit.
Yeah, that would hurt, especially if you're flying real fast.
Oh yeah, exactly. Just a small rock that would destroy you.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, that's all I've got. Vince, do you have anything in closing there?
That was pretty comprehensive. You answered all my questions. I feel fulfilled.
Is that from the interview or the nap you took during football talk or?
A little of both, actually. So it worked out nice. I appreciate the kind of like vegging out during it was replenishment, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. You got a half a heart. You got a half a heart back. So
exactly,
they're all good.
Kurt, throw us the website. We probably should have got that information from you earlier.
No worries. MFGCast.com. Also, Twitter is at MFGCast. We have a Facebook page, MFGCast. You can get a hold of us on our email, mfgcast3@gmail.com. Anything you want to send, if you want us to try out your game, if you want to come on and talk about anything, we're always up for it. So.
Sweet. Well, we appreciate you coming on again. You're probably our first 3-timer, I think, now.
Nice. I'm like your I don't know. I was trying to think of like a Johnny Carson thing, but then no one would know that besides us. So.
You're like our cleanup hitter for the 2 people that'll get the right.
There you go. That's it.
You're our go-to guy.
That's right. Always glad to be on. It's always very easy to talk with you guys. So.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll have to. We'll see maybe if we can get your mutants and mastermind fix scratched. We'll talk to Neil. I know he's wanting to run some kind of superhero game. I don't remember which system it was though.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, I'll work on it a little bit. We'll see what we can get together.
Sweet.
Cool. Word.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
No problem.
You can check us out now. We just added. I think it's Player FM as one of the places you can find us at, as well as iTunes and SoundCloud. We're on Stitcher. I believe there's still a feed burner out there in the wild. We also have a Facebook page. Main website is legendsoftabletop.com. You can send us emails, feedback, questions, comments at legendsoftabletop@gmail.com. We're looking forward to getting your questions and stuff. And thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next time.
Bye.